You're driving home. Nothing is wrong. Seatbelt on. Registration current. Insurance paid. Red and blue lights flash behind you. Your heart does what hearts always do. You pull over. You take a breath. And within 60 seconds, you hand over everything the officer needs to turn a routine stop into something much worse. Not because you did anything illegal, because you didn't know 4 phrases that change everything at a traffic stop. Every day, drivers across this country make one costly mistake. They treat a traffic stop like a conversation. They answer questions they aren't required to answer. They agree to things they never had to agree to, because they don't know the exact words that shift legal power back to their side of the window. I've analyzed hundreds of traffic stop cases. Body cam footage, suppression hearings, the paper trail of small verbal mistakes that became serious consequences. The pattern is always the same. The people who walked away clean knew 4 things most drivers never learn. Today I'm giving you all 4. These are not attitudes, not tricks. These are specific, legally grounded phrases rooted in Supreme Court decisions and constitutional law. Phrase 1 reveals a psychological trap officers use on almost every stop. Phrase 2 is what you say when the most feared words at any traffic stop are spoken. We're going to bring a dog around. Phrase 3 puts the legal clock in your hands. Phrase 4 closes the stop with a constitutional shield every federal appeals court has confirmed. This is educational content to help you understand your rights. For specific legal advice, talk to an attorney in your state. Now let's go through all 4. Phrase 1. Officer, are you ordering me or asking me? Here is the mistake most drivers make. The officer hands back your license and says, "Hey, do you mind if I take a look in the car real quick?" And the driver, nervous, polite, or thinking they have nothing to hide, and says, "Sure." The body cam records, "Sure." The prosecutor plays it in court. Nothing left to argue. You just gave voluntary consent. Picture this. Stopped for a lane change. The officer is friendly. He hands your license back and says, "Before you go, mind if I check the back seat? Just routine." You say, okay, I guess." He reaches in. Finds something left by whoever borrowed your car. Now you're explaining what you didn't put there. The body cam already captured your consent. Ow! Why do people do it? Because they don't realize the question was optional. Officers are trained to phrase search requests conversationally. Mind if I? Sounds nothing like a legal order. That's intentional. When you agree to a request, you've waived your Fourth Amendment protection voluntarily. Courts have consistently held that voluntary consent is valid even when you didn't know you could refuse. Here's the legal reality. Your Fourth Amendment right protects you from unreasonable searches, but only if you don't hand it over yourself. The moment you consent, the Fourth Amendment steps back. Officers understand this perfectly. That's why they ask. If they had probable cause, they wouldn't need to. The question is proof they don't have what they need yet. The correct move is to answer the question before answering the question. The exact words, "Officer, are you ordering me or asking me?" Say it calmly, hands visible. "Officer, are you ordering me or asking me?" If the answer is asking, respond, "I appreciate that, but I do not consent to any searches." If the officer says it's an order, "Officer, for the record, what is the lawful basis for that order?" You're not arguing. You're creating a documented record. Your phone is recording. Their body cam is recording. Every word matters. "Officer, are you ordering me or asking me?" That question resets the entire dynamic. It forces the officer to acknowledge out loud on camera whether they have legal authority to compel the action or whether they're hoping you won't say no. Bottom line, you can't protect a right you accidentally waived. Knowing the difference between a request and a command is the difference between a lawful search and an unconstitutional one. Now, refusing a search keeps your Fourth Amendment intact. But here's the gap. The Fourth Amendment protects your property. It does not protect your words. Officers can pivot from a search request to questioning the moment you say no. And the Supreme Court in Salinas v. Texas made it clear. Silence is not the same as invoking your rights. Your silence can be used against you. You must say the words. Phrase 2 is built for exactly that moment. And it comes when most drivers are too scared to say anything at all. Phrase 2. I do not consent to extending this stop for a K-9 unit. Here is the nightmare scenario. You've refused the search. The officer walks back, then returns. Sir, we're going to bring a drug dog around the vehicle. Just a few minutes. You feel the stop slip out of your control. Most people freeze. Some start talking. Some consent out of fear. All of them just made it worse. Picture this. Pulled over for a broken tail light. Stop should last 4 minutes. License is clean. Officer writes a warning, walks back, then leans toward his radio. I'm going to call in a K-9. You don't know what to say. You wait. 20 minutes later, a second patrol car arrives. Dog alerts. Car searched. Evidence found that isn't yours. This happens. Here is what the Supreme Court actually said. In Rodriguez v. United States, decided in 2015, the court ruled 6-3 that officers cannot extend a completed traffic stop to conduct a dog sniff without reasonable suspicion. The mission of a traffic stop, writing the citation, checking the license, verifying registration, defines how long the stop can last. Once that mission is done, your detention is legally over. The officer in Rodriguez extended the stop by 7 to 8 minutes for a dog sniff. The Supreme Court said that violated the Fourth Amendment. That ruling gives you a direct legal basis. The exact words, I do not consent to extending this stop for a K-9 unit. Say it clearly. I do not consent to extending this stop for a K-9 unit. Once more, I do not consent to extending this stop for a K-9 unit. Your phone is recording. Their body cam is recording. You just created a documented objection rooted in Supreme Court precedent. Here's the realistic dialogue. Officer, we don't need your consent for a dog sniff. Your response? Officer, if my documents have been returned and the purpose of this stop is complete, I do not consent to further detention. Am I free to leave? If the officer says yes, leave calmly. If the officer says no, you are now being detained. And your next words are, I invoke my right to remain silent. I want an attorney. Then stop talking. The body cam is capturing the extended stop. That footage is the foundation of a suppression motion. Important state variation. Colorado and Illinois courts have applied Rodriguez strictly, suppressing K-9 evidence from extended stops. Other jurisdictions have found room for longer delays when officers can point to specific factors observed during the stop itself. Your documented refusal matters because it forces any extension onto the record, out loud, on camera, with a timestamp. Stay calm, stay polite, but stay firm. Cooperation does not mean conversation, and it does not mean waiting silently while your constitutional clock runs out. Bottom line, Rodriguez gave you a legal deadline. When the stop's mission is done, the detention ends. Your refusal to extend it must be spoken clearly on the record. If this is already clicking for you, that the Supreme Court built you a legal shield most drivers never use, tap hype right now so this reaches people before their next stop. Phrase 3 is where you take control of your legal status in real time. Phrase 3. Officer, am I free to leave, or am I being detained? This phrase is known in rights education circles, but its power depends entirely on when you say it, how you say it, and what you do based on the answer. Most people who know this phrase wait too long to use it, or don't follow through on what the answer legally requires next. Picture this. You've handed over your license. Officer runs it, everything clean. He hands your license back. But instead of saying, "Have a good night," he leans against your door and starts asking where you're going, whether you've been drinking, who you were with. You think the stop is basically over. You answer, it isn't over. Here's what you need to understand. Police encounters fall into 3 legal categories. A consensual encounter, you can leave at any time. A Terry stop, the officer has reasonable suspicion, can temporarily detain you, but only long enough to investigate that specific suspicion. An arrest, probable cause required, Miranda rights attach. The dangerous zone is the gray space between Category 1 and Category 2. Officers are trained to keep encounters there because you keep talking voluntarily when you think you're free to go. Officer, am I free to leave or am I being detained? Forces the officer to assign a legal category. Out loud, on camera, on the record. This flows from Terry versus Ohio, the 1968 Supreme Court case establishing the reasonable suspicion standard. A Terry stop is temporary and has a constitutional clock. You have the right to know your legal status. The exact words, "Officer, am I free to leave or am I being detained?" Say it respectfully. "Officer, am I free to leave or am I being detained?" One more time. "Officer, am I free to leave or am I being detained?" If you're free to leave, leave. Roll up your window signal and drive away calmly. Don't stay for one more exchange. If you're being detained, "Officer, on what specific legal grounds am I being detained?" You're asking the officer to state, on camera, the articulable basis. If they can't articulate it, the detention may be unconstitutional, and any evidence gathered may be suppressible. State-specific reality. 24 states have stop and identify laws, Texas, Nevada, Colorado among them, requiring your name during a lawful detention. During a traffic stop, you are always required to provide license, registration, and insurance. That obligation is separate from stop and identify. Beyond those documents, know your state's law. But in every state, you have the right to know which legal category you are in. Body cam note. When you ask, "Am I free to leave or am I being detained?" on a live body cam, the officer's answer and their stated justification become part of the permanent record. If they detain you without legitimate grounds, that recording becomes the foundation of your legal challenge. Stay calm. Be respectful, not talkative. Your tone matters as much as your words. Bottom line, you cannot exercise rights you don't know you have. Knowing your legal status in real time tells you exactly which constitutional protections apply. Phrase 4 closes the encounter with a constitutional shield that creates a second record of everything that happened. Phrase 4. I am recording this interaction. That is my First Amendment right. This is the closing shield. It makes everything you've said during this stop verifiable by someone other than the officer. Officers have body cams. Body cams can be turned off, angled away, or malfunction. Your recording doesn't malfunction, and the law is fully on your side. Picture this. 4 minutes into the stop. You've said phrase 1, declined the search, asked your legal status. The officer's demeanor shifts. He steps back. Are you recording me? Most people get nervous and put the phone down. Don't. The exact words, yes, officer, I am recording this interaction. That is my First Amendment right. Say it clearly. I am recording this interaction. That is my First Amendment right. One more time. I am recording this interaction. That is my First Amendment right. Here is the legal foundation. Every federal appeals court that has addressed this question has ruled identically. Recording police performing their public duties in public is protected by the First Amendment. The 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th circuits have all confirmed this right. The Fourth Circuit specifically ruled that live streaming a traffic stop is First Amendment protected speech. The government may never legally delete your photos or video. If an officer orders you to stop recording and you are not interfering with their duties, that order is not lawful. Practical setup. Before you state this phrase, your phone should already be recording. Ideally, auto-uploading to cloud backup so that if your phone is taken incident to arrest, the footage already exists elsewhere. Hold the phone in plain sight. No sudden movements. For everyone's safety, I am recording this interaction. That is my First Amendment right. What about two-party consent states? Most states follow one-party consent. You can record a conversation you are part of without the other party's agreement. Some states have required all-party consent for audio, but courts have recognized significant First Amendment exceptions for recording police in public. The constitutional baseline is strong. For your specific state, consideres sa un orisimfiation stage consult an attorney. Here's what the recording does even when the stop ends cleanly. It documents the stop's length, relevant to Rodriguez. It captures whether searches were requested or ordered, relevant to phrase 1. It captures whether detention was explained, relevant to phrase 3. One phone recording contains evidence for multiple constitutional arguments. The body cam records everything. Your recording records everything. Neither side can change what actually happened. Bottom line, your First Amendment right to record is not a request. It is a constitutionally protected act, recognized by every federal appeals court in the country. State it out loud, and you create a second record of everything that follows. Now, before any of these phrases are necessary, the first 30 seconds matter. Pull over safely with your turn signal. Turn on your dome light if it's dark. Turn off the engine. Both hands visible on the steering wheel. Lock your doors. Roll your window down 2 to 4 inches, enough to communicate, not enough to give plain view access to your interior. If needed, I'm locking the vehicle and will hand documents through the window. These steps control the physical environment before a word is spoken. One more thing every driver needs to understand. Police can legally lie to you during a traffic stop. They can tell you they have evidence they don't have. Say a witness identified you when no one did. Claim the dog already alerted. Say cooperation will make things easier. And that isn't a legal promise. Courts have held repeatedly that police deception does not invalidate a stop. The only exception, officers cannot create false documents. Everything else is permissible. That is exactly why your phrases matter, not to fight, to document, to create a record that no fabricated narrative can erase. Here's your complete framework. Officer, are you ordering me or asking me? Your Fourth Amendment filter, I do not consent to extending this stop for a K-9 unit. Rodriguez versus United States in real time. Officer, am I free to leave or am I being detained? Your Terry stop inquiry, locking your legal status on the record. I am recording this interaction. That is my First Amendment right. Every federal appeals court, unified. And behind all four, I invoke my right to remain silent. I want an attorney. I do not consent to any searches. Am I free to leave? These foundational phrases work only when spoken clearly, out loud, on camera. This legal knowledge belongs to everyone. If you want more drivers to know what you just learned before their next stop, hit hype right now. Here's your practical next step. Write these 4 phrases on a card. Keep it in your glove box. Practice saying them out loud. Calmly, respectfully, firmly. Not because you're planning a confrontation. Because the time to learn these words is not when your heart rate is elevated and lights are flashing. The time is right now. This is educational content only, not legal advice. Always consult with a qualified attorney in your state for your specific situation. To get the complete legal picture, how these protections interact with different constitutional standards, and how state law modifies your baseline rights at a traffic stop? I break that down in the next video. It builds directly on everything you just learned. It's showing on screen right now. Watch it. You now know what most drivers will never know. Know your phrases. Know your rights. Know your power.